How many days could you survive without seeing the sun? Not without light, without the sun itself. No sky. No fresh air. No stepping outside. Think of your honest answer. And now hold on to it. Because right now, somewhere under the ocean, there is a crew of more than 100 people who have not seen the sun in 2 months. They don't know what the weather is like outside. They haven't felt rain, or wind, or fresh air. They haven't seen the sky, the stars, or a single sunrise. They live inside a sealed steel tube, hundreds of feet below the surface, and they will stay there eating, sleeping, working, laughing for around 90 days straight. No windows, no sunlight, no going outside, not even once. These are submarine crews, and how they live down there, without going crazy, without getting sick, without even losing track of what day it is. That's one of the most fascinating stories in the modern world. Because almost everything about daily life that you take for granted has to be rebuilt from scratch inside a submarine. Let's start with the thing most people never even consider. On a submarine, there is nothing to see. People imagine submarines like the movies, a captain at a periscope, big glass screens, maybe a viewport looking out into the deep blue. The reality is stranger. A submarine deep underwater is surrounded by total darkness, and even if it had windows, there would be nothing outside them but black water. So submarines don't really have windows at all. The crew crosses entire oceans without ever seeing where they're going. The boat sees with sound instead. Sonar operators sit in quiet rooms, wearing headphones, listening to the ocean. The clicks of shrimp, the songs of whales, the distant rumble of cargo ships passing far above. For 90 days, the entire outside world is something you hear, not something you see. Now here's the first big problem with living in a sealed tube. Air. Humans breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. Seal 100 people in a steel container, and within days the oxygen would run out, and the carbon dioxide would build to dangerous levels. So a submarine has to do something that sounds like science fiction. It makes its own air. Nuclear submarines take in seawater and split the water molecules using electricity, separating H2O into hydrogen and oxygen. The oxygen goes into the boat for the crew to breathe. At the same time, machines called scrubbers continuously pull the carbon dioxide out of the air. In other words, a submarine is basically a man-made planet. It manufactures its own atmosphere every single day for months. Crew members will tell you the air down there even has its own particular smell, a mix of machine oil, cooking, and the chemical tang of the scrubbers, and that smell soaks into everything. Sailors say their families can smell the boat on their clothes for weeks after they come home. Water works the same way. The submarine distills fresh water from the ocean for drinking, for cooking, for showers. Though showers is generous, water is precious. So crews take what they call submarine showers. Water on for a few seconds. Soap up with the water off. Rinse fast. Done. Total time, about 2 minutes. So air is solved. Water is solved. Now comes the strangest problem of all. Time. Think about how you know what time it is, not by the clock, but by your body. Sunlight in the morning wakes you up. Darkness at night makes you sleepy. Your entire body runs on a rhythm set by the sun. Now take the sun away completely. For 90 days. What happens? Without help, the crew's body clocks would drift apart and fall to pieces. So the submarine creates artificial time. The lighting inside the boat changes on a schedule, brighter during the day, dimmed and shifted at night, so the crew's bodies have something to hold on to. For decades, some navies even ran a strange 18-hour day on submarines, 6 hours on watch, 12 hours off, around the clock, until studies showed the human body simply refuses to adapt to it, and boats moved to a normal 24-hour rhythm. Down there, morning is not something that happens. Morning is something the crew decides. And here's a detail that surprises everyone. Because the crew gets no sunlight at all, their bodies stop producing vitamin D, the vitamin your skin makes from the sun. So vitamin supplements aren't optional on a submarine. They're part of staying functional for 3 months in a world without daylight. Now let's talk about space. Or rather, the complete lack of it. A submarine packs over 100 people into a space smaller than most apartment buildings, along with a nuclear reactor, torpedo room, kitchen, and enough food for 3 months. Sleeping quarters are stacked bunks called racks, each one roughly the size of a coffin, with a curtain for privacy and a few inches of storage for everything you own. On some boats, there aren't even enough racks for everyone. Junior crew members share beds in shifts, a system famously called hot bunking. One sailor climbs out, another climbs in, and the mattress never gets cold. Your bed is your entire private world. Behind that little curtain, that's it. That's your house for 90 days. So what keeps 100 people sane inside a steel tube, with no sun, no space, and no escape? The answer, according to almost every submariner ever interviewed, is the same. Food. Submarine crews famously eat the best food in the Navy, and that's not an accident. When you can't offer people sunlight, fresh air, or freedom, a good meal becomes the emotional center of the entire day. The cooks work around the clock. Fresh fruit and vegetables last only the first couple of weeks. After that, it's frozen and canned food, transformed by cooks who know that morale on the entire boat literally rises and falls with dinner. Pizza nights, special meals at the halfway point of the patrol. On a submarine, food isn't fuel. Food is the calendar, the celebration, and the therapy all at once. There's also a rule of life underwater that outsiders rarely hear about: quiet. A submarine's entire purpose depends on not being heard, and that shapes daily behavior in ways that become second nature. Crew members learn to close doors gently, to set tools down instead of dropping them, to live softly. Even off duty, there's an awareness in the back of every mind that the ocean carries sound for enormous distances. 100 people, living for 3 months inside a machine, all quietly agreeing not to make noise. It's one of the strangest shared disciplines in any workplace on Earth. And the routine never really stops. Drills break up the week's fire drills, flooding drills, emergency scenarios rehearsed again and again, until responses become reflexes. Because down there is no fire department to call, and no door to run out of. The crew is the fire department. The crew is the hospital. The crew is everything. Between drills, sailors study for qualifications, watch movies in the tiny mess, play cards, and mark time in small personal ways. Some count meals, some count watches, and almost everyone knows exactly how many days remain. And then there's the hardest part. Not the air, not the space. The silence from home. For most of a patrol, a submarine stays hidden, and staying hidden means staying quiet, including with communication. Crew members can typically receive only short messages from their families, sometimes just a few dozen words, delivered occasionally. And here's the part that gets me. They often cannot reply. For months, the world sends them tiny fragments of baby's first steps. A birthday. We're proud of you, and they read them in a bunk under the ocean, unable to send a single word back. 90 days of one-way love letters. Ask submariners what they miss most, and the answers are never dramatic. Sunlight on your face. The smell of grass. Standing in the rain. Walking in a straight line for more than 50 feet. Ordinary things, the things the rest of us don't even notice we have. But ask them about the day they return, and their faces change. Because after 90 days underwater, the boat finally surfaces, the hatch opens, and the crew climbs up one by one into the daylight. And every one of them describes the same two things. The light so overwhelming after 3 months of artificial lighting that many crews are handed sunglasses before stepping out, because their eyes can barely handle the sky. and the air the first breath of real wind after 90 days of manufactured atmosphere. Sailors say that single breath is something you never forget for the rest of your life. And then, weeks later, many of them go back down and do it all again. So the next time you complain about a rainy day, remember that somewhere under the ocean, right now, there's a sailor in a coffin-sized bunk who would trade almost anything to stand in that rain. 100 people, living on a man-made planet the size of a building, keeping their own time, making their own air, holding their world together with routine, discipline, and really good pizza. Now I want to hear from you. Be honest, could you do it? 90 days, no sunlight, no phone, no going outside, a bed the size of a bookshelf. How long do you think you would actually last? A week? A month? Drop your honest answer in the comments, because I read every single one, and the answers on this one are going to be interesting. If you enjoyed this look at life beneath the surface, hit like and subscribe for more stories about the people and machines that survive where nothing should. Because next time, we're going somewhere just as isolated but far more violent. Platforms standing alone in the middle of the ocean, where workers sleep 100 miles from land, while 40-foot waves explode against the steel beneath their beds. Take a walk outside today for the people who can't, and I'll see you in the next one.